What's up, guys? Welcome to the Follow Me Show on episode 6. You're here with your hosts,
Drew
and Dee Dee. And today, like every day, we are going to discuss the tips and tricks.
The do's and do nots.
That was really delayed. Of the modern day realtor. And today
we're going to talk about why you should fire your broker, or at least a few reasons and red flags that may come up for you new realtors and when it's time to leave.
Yeah, here are 4 reasons to fire your broker and 4 questions to ask or things to look out for so you don't have to learn by trial and error. You can learn from our mistakes and other agents' mistakes that we've seen along the way.
Yep. So because you have more experience than I do as a realtor, let me ask you this, or let me ask this question. What is the closing process like for me, and how do I get paid?
So you're saying, okay, if you were a new agent and you were coming into, let's say, Follow Me Realtor, you're asking me this.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's
how do
pretend.
I get paid? How do I get paid?
Yes.
And what's the process like?
Yeah. Okay, so guys, let's pretend that I was actually not a Follow Me Realty broker, and I was just the traditional, what everyone has come to know as a real estate broker or a real estate brokerage. Okay. So if somebody came to me and said that, like, what is the closing process like? When do I get paid? How do I get paid? Typically what you're going to find, and a huge reason to fire that broker before you have even started, walk your ass out the door, is if you are in a situation, and existing agents will know what I'm talking about. You're in a situation where, let's say you had a closing on Friday. You sent all the paperwork in to get approved, and yes, you always have to have all of your transactions, the documents approved in the transaction. You have an office manager. Let me tell you a few things that are going to completely make you want to walk out the door, and you should walk out the door. Number 1, the transaction management process is not smooth. So let's say you sent in all the paperwork, right? And you hear nothing. Like, okay, it looks good, it doesn't look good, and you're closing that day, and you already sent everything in, let's say yesterday. And you don't know what to expect because they don't have an actual process where they've said, okay, this is how it works. We're going to check it off and say, hey, you're good to go. And yes, we've been a part of brokerages that have been like that. And so that's one of the things that's already a red flag, that if they don't have a process that's pretty seamless, instead of you having to kind of go fishing for information, what do I do? I haven't heard anything back. If you have to send a follow-up email the next day, like, what do I do in this situation, because you simply don't know. And I'm not talking about the first closing. I'm talking about the 3rd or 4th closing, and you still don't really know how it works because it's different every time, right? Or you just have to always hound someone for information.
Yeah.
And your office manager, I'm talking about the bookkeeper or whatever. That's a huge red flag. Now, the second part of that is, how do you get paid? Can you even get paid at the closing table? So normally what happens is...
And you're talking about commission checks for all you new people out there
Yeah.
that aren't familiar.
Right. So you have a closing, you go to the closing table, you shake hands with your buyer or seller, everybody's happy, they walk away. Do you get to turn around to your title company? Because the title company is normally, unless you have it at a lender's office, but most of the time you're going to have a closing at the title company, whoever the seller chose to be the title company. So everybody's walked away, right? Now, you as an agent, does that title company get to hand you a check? They can most often. I've actually never known a title company that can't do the closing check for you, right? And so let's just assume they all do. Now, the only holdup you're going to have is your broker.
Yep.
Is your broker allowing that title company to give you a closing check right then and there? And in this day and age, there's no reason why they can't.
With technology, with the speed of life, really, there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to get paid at the closing table, unless the title company that you're with doesn't allow it.
Right. So
which is really rare.
Super rare.
Yeah, that's rare.
Yeah, so you should be able to get them to do that, and that's when you have a disbursement authorization form that your broker signs that says, yes, they're good to go.
So what is that? What is
disbursement
it?
Okay, so a DA
Okay.
is what we call it. A DA is basically something that, and this is why it's really good to know what the process is with the office manager. Basically, you send your transaction over. They say, yes, you have your contract there. Yes, you have everybody signing everywhere they need to do, all the proper paperwork, right? So the office manager or the broker or whoever it is in your brokerage has basically then sent over a disbursement authorization to the title company that's or whoever's handling the closing to say, hey, they're good to go. You can go ahead and pay them at the closing table. So some companies, that's so brand new for them. They're like, a DA? No, we don't do DAs. You just get paid whenever it comes in the mail. And I, quite honestly and quite frankly, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
You should be able to get paid that day. And so that's why, in my opinion, a DA is just standard.
Yeah.
Not a privilege.
Yeah. So my thing is, if you are a seasoned agent or an agent that maybe has another source of income, be it a spouse, another job, it's not that big of a deal. But for a lot of agents, this is their main source of income. So getting paid that day is pretty important versus waiting 3 days to a week.
Well, and let me just say this too. Let's just say you have 12 closings coming in every month, or yes, like you said, you have another source of income. That's all fine and well. I mean, but at the end of the day, again, there really shouldn't be any reason why there is a holdup. Period.
No, that's true.
Regardless, because like the transaction should be so easy where it's not like you have to wait for somebody. Really just waiting for someone to email you back.
Yeah, and I guess you're right there, because if it's not where you're getting paid at the closing table, then you got to ask the question, well, why not?
Right.
Why haven't you guys went ahead and done your due diligence as a brokerage to see that we get paid at the closing table? What's the problem?
Right. So it's not like, anybody who's been in property management, for instance, okay, all of the tenants will pay on the 1st, right? The owners will typically get paid between the 9th and the 10th. And the reason being is all of the money, and it's a different process, all the money has to go inside of that operating bank account for the property management department, right? So they have to make sure everybody's paid, everything is accounted for, and then they can go and clear the checks and write a totally separate check or wire the money to each owner. So I understand that. That takes processing and that takes time.
You're talking about the property management aspect.
Exactly. So I'm saying I can understand where there's a delay in that kind of field of real estate.
Yeah.
But when you have residential real estate sales and you're closing homes, when the broker doesn't actually have to be an intermediary anymore and cut the check for you, the title company, almost every title company has the authority to do that. And guys, if you're new to the industry, like start to talk to title companies and get to know some different ones like you even want to partner with. So when you decide to list a home, because again, the seller is normally the one who will choose a title company, or they'll go based on your recommendations. So start to talk to title companies and understand their process. And this might seem like a lot to do in the beginning, but it saves you a world of grief later when you know more about how it's going to work when you come to closing, and you're not blindsided.
And the title companies, they're happy to talk to you because you are their potential customers or clients.
You'll keep referring people to them.
Exactly. So don't be afraid to ask them. Ever. Yeah, they're in the same boat as you.
Well, honestly, any industry professional that is like a lender or a title company or what have you, they like when real estate agents go to them and say, hey, tell me a little bit about you, because that's their opportunity to sell you. Just like you have an opportunity to sell a buyer or seller.
Yeah. So I have a question for you. Let's say I am with White Wall Realty or whatever the name is, right? And they don't allow transactions to be done at the closing table where you're getting paid. What does that say about the broker?
If the title company doesn't allow it?
I'm sorry. If the broker doesn't allow it and the title company does. So let's say you're with White Wall Realty. And I don't think that's a real realty, but white. I'm looking at the walls and it's white. So if you're with White Wall Realty. So what does that say about the broker? Like, what are some signs or what are some, stress points or pain points of the broker? What is it? What is the storytelling?
Well, I'll tell you a huge red flag. It's probably because they've been burned by the recent depression of 2008, so the crash. And the reason why I say that is there are a lot of agents, if you have experienced and survived from 2007 to now, brokers have probably been in situations where there have been companies that have kind of closed around them, mortgage companies to title companies, and so they want to make sure that because of the fact that the seller can choose whatever title company they want to go with, they may not be very trusting. But the problem is, what it also shows is a lack of, it's fear-based, it's a shortage consciousness thinking,
Got it.
well, is my check going to close as a result of this transaction because of the title company that they chose to use? So that just, in my opinion, quite honestly, I don't care what your reason is. It's unprofessional. You should be able to provide for your agents right away.
Okay.
I mean, you're taking a good portion of their commission, and if you're burned by one title company that the check doesn't clear, that's not the agent's fault.
No.
Because guess what happens? The agent's check doesn't clear as well. So you're kind of putting an agent in a bad position.
So what you're saying is basically it's a shortage mentality.
Yeah.
So if they have the ability to close at the table, but they're not allowing you, they're worried about them more so
Losing
than
out. Exactly. They're worried more about what's going to affect them than what is affecting you or what's going to help you as a real estate agent. So don't let any broker fool you into believing that is that's a common practice or that should be the norm. Because honestly, guys, it's really not. There's really no reason for that these days.
Okay. So first red flag is in question form. What is it like? What's the closing process like? And when do you get your check?
Yeah, and what you want them to say and what you want them to show as a broker and as a brokerage is, yes, you can get paid at the closing table, and here is the process that we have. So when you're asking them these questions, when you're interviewing brokers, because they shouldn't be interviewing you as much, it's basically what do you provide me at the closing table? Can I get paid? And what is the transaction process like? Is it seamless? What is the turnaround time to find out if everything's good to go?
Who do I speak with?
Yeah.
Do I need to go through?
Is there a direct person?
Yeah.
Don't let them look at you confused or have this long pause.
Yeah, like, well, we don't really
typically
do that.
we do. Yeah, no, say, okay, so this is what you should
Yeah.
expect. And to be honest with you, it should be in the handbook that you get when you start with them too. It's
And
like,
I hope that's in our handbook.
yeah, exactly. Now I need to, you know what? And if it's not, now it needs to be. So you guys will see that shortly. So that's the first thing.
Okay, so what is reason number 2? What's another reason to fire your broker or to not sign up at all? What are some red flags that you see?
Well, let me see. The second thing would be, and this is something that is very, very prevalent in brick and mortar brokerages these days, and it kind of drives me nuts, is the overall social hierarchy.
These days, I think that's always been.
It's always been,
Yeah.
but I'm saying the fact that it even is something that's prevalent to a brokerage in 2017, it's actually quite silly. But on the other hand, the social hierarchy of any company, the 9 to 5, you'll have the water cooler talk, you'll have the social cliques, etc., etc. But the thing is, guys, you're not getting paid a salary.
Yeah, so you're not a 9 to 5, so
Yeah.
therefore there should be no kind of social hierarchy.
Yes. So if anything, the way that I would like
And
to
I'm
see
sorry,
it.
could you break down social hierarchy?
Yes, okay. So there are a few things that what I mean by this. Office politics. And here's
That's
something.
what we mean.
Yeah,
Okay.
basically office politics. But the social hierarchy is also something else. But I'll
Okay.
tell you first, the office politics that you'll deal with. And what do I mean by that? Does your broker, and of course if you ask your broker, they're not going to say that they do this, but just ask some of the agents that are there.
Or just
Is there-
look around and see what's going on.
See the vibe, feel it out, because yeah, it has a lot to do with that. So when you go in there, like, do you feel like they're gonna, existing agents, for instance, do you go into your brokerage office feeling like people are talking about you, talking about other people? Do you hear your broker talking about other agents, anyone? Do you hear them being overall negative in any capacity with respect to gossiping? Okay, because yes, that is something that I've seen in every brokerage. And I mean, people have even talked to me. Brokers have told me things and I'm like, wow, you should have never told me that. Not because I'll tell anyone else, but because it just looks really unprofessional.
Could you give me an example?
Yes, I could give you a million examples, but I'll tell
give me
you one. Where there was a real estate agent that was in our office and she had just recently left the team that our broker actually ran.
And that's another red
That
flag.
is
for
a huge
bit
red
later.
flag.
Yeah,
Yes, and we'll talk about that. But our broker actually also had a real estate team within the company. So, okay, you already have a broker owner, franchise owner, running their own team, which is so laughable. Okay, because that's not only the person that's there to help you, but they're also...
That is later on.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, keep going.
The point is, they had somebody that was in a team that I was currently on, laughing with the office manager about how ridiculous one of their old agents, but they were still an existing agent with an office, but now a single agent, no longer part of the team, how ridiculous some of their marketing was online. She was out there killing it. She was hustling. She was doing whatever she had to do, and she was doing a really good job. I mean, she was awesome. I love her. She is
thriving
oh
today.
my gosh,
Yeah,
she's doing so well right
yeah.
now. I love her to death. Okay, so she had and has very good branding. Well, the broker is gossiping with the office manager right in front of me, saying how ridiculous something looked, and then said, "Oh, you know what? As a matter of fact, what she's doing, the way that she was branding, was against the code of ethics because she did not have the broker's branding on her stuff." So, okay, I understand you have to have a certain way you have to do it. You should have never let me hear that. Because that lowers office morale.
The problem is you're gossiping to another agent
exactly
about your agent.
Well,
it doesn't make a lot of sense.
And she's gossiping to the office manager, and might I add, a new office manager at that. So already you're setting the standard for what the office is like as a broker, right? So that's what I'm talking about, the social hierarchy, or the office politics rather. Now, as far as the social hierarchy goes, there is an employer-employee type of structure that is typically with a traditional brokerage.
Okay.
Where if you're the broker, you kind of regard yourself already as I'm the shit, right? And so, yeah, and you're such an ass. You want everyone else to kind of regard yourself as that. Now, am I talking about every single real estate brokerage? No, but am I talking about 97% of them? Yeah.
And we're talking about ones to avoid.
Yeah, we're talking about the ones that you really don't want to be a part of, but unfortunately that has become the common thing where, what do I mean by that? For instance, a broker that...
And time out. Let's be honest. Let's not act like it's that hard to get your broker's license. So why are you walking on water anyway? But so, anyway, go ahead. I digress.
Drew doesn't like people that act like this. But it happens really often. And so you'll have this, basically what they're doing is they're taking a lot of money, like shaving off all of that top, but then at the same time, they're not giving you the proper training. And then 3, what's even worse is they're demanding that you produce for them. So it's frustrating for a new agent because you start to get used to feeling like that's just how it has to be. I'm going to give you a second example. I was with a broker, and although he didn't necessarily in the beginning come off as like, I am your employer, he did approach me within the second month of being there, and he asked me, and for no other reason except to just, I think he was really doing it to all of the agents there, but he's like, hey, so now that you're here, how many listings do you have? How many buyers do you have? And quite honestly, the first thing I thought in my head was, oh, shoot, now I have to kind of go back into my dot loop and look and give him an account. And then about 5 minutes after we had the conversation, I thought, wait, why is he questioning me? And any existing agent might say, that's kind of like a normal thing. No, you want to make sure you're producing for your broker. No, that's BS.
That's complete bullshit.
What I really wanted to say to him 5 minutes later was, oh, yeah, go fuck yourself because I'm giving you 20% of my commission.
It's none of your broker's business.
Right.
What you're doing, because you're paying monthly, you're paying a fee, and if you want to sell 1 house or 60 houses a month, it doesn't matter.
But the thing is, that's not necessarily true because these brokerages have gotten so used to telling you, hey, no, actually, you need to make sure that you're producing or you're out, which is...
Yeah, and this is another social hierarchy thing, slash, employee structure that we're talking about. I remember a story you were telling me. You were talking to your broker, and the 2 brokers were talking in front of you about how...
They weren't brokers. I know what you're talking about.
How they should
Go ahead.
How they should cut off the girl if she's not producing. Say, I cut them right away.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, that was two brokers, that particular situation. So basically, I had gotten with a brokerage. And yes, I have gone through quite a few because quite honestly, I don't really give a shit because they're there to service me. And if they're not there to service me, or if I'm leaving because I'm living in a certain area or I want to service a specific area, what I do, just like you guys, is really of no concern of anyone. It's just like if you decide to go with Spotify instead of iTunes because it simply provides what you need, you shouldn't feel like you have to answer to anyone while you do it. And that is exactly how I always saw it. And that's how you should see it. So let's say, for instance, you join Follow Me Realty and you're like, okay, I really like this brokerage. It's really giving me what I need. And then 3 months in, you say, you know what, I really actually want to shadow someone. And this is a conversation that we had with an agent this week, is he said, well, will I have the ability to shadow someone? Being an online real estate brokerage, that's
and a startup,
and
we
a
don't have
brand new real estate brokerage. It's not like we have the client base. And when I say client, I mean agent. So the agent base to say, yes, you can go and shadow this person, but also because we're new, so everybody's new, right? So I said, hey, if that's something that you need, then absolutely, you should check out some other brokerages. And as a matter of fact, I gave him some recommendations on who to take a look at, because we know our pain points and then we also know our strengths. And that's really one of the only pain points. So if you're one of those agents and then you say, hey, I like what they have to offer, but I really need to shadow someone to see firsthand experience, then all you have to do is say, hey, I'm out. And we say, hey, best of luck to you in the future. And it should be that simple, because do you have to explain to the CEO of Spotify why you decide to leave?
Nope.
No, and neither should you have to.
Yeah.
Or nor should you have to, rather. So again, the social hierarchy of it, the office politics, the cliques, it's a huge issue. But the thing is, that's kind of run rampant.
Yeah, basically, you need to run if you hear your broker talking in front of you about other realtors, because you know they're talking about you to other realtors as well.
To come back around to that, just to kind of say something about what you were talking about. So there were two brokers, a part of the same franchise, and they basically switched agents. I went to one, and one of their agents went to the one I just left. And they basically had a conversation, and he was really afraid of me leaving, saying, well, you should really let your previous broker know. And I said, well, that's all fine and well. I'll let her know when I decide to leave, but I want to see what my options are. So you shouldn't be afraid within the industry to just know what's best for you without feeling like you're hurting someone's feeling or stepping on anyone's toes. This is for you.
Exactly. It's not about
They're
your
not
broker.
paying you.
It's not about your friends at the office. It's about you.
They're not paying you.
This is your business.
Yeah, exactly. So let me tell you guys, one of the objections that I've heard from quite a few people when I've talked to them in the last few weeks even, they said, well, you know, I really like the people that I work with. I really like the agents that are in my office. And it's like, yeah, but, you know, are they giving you $35,000 to stay?
And that would be about the commission that you're giving up. The percentage that you're giving up would be about $35,000 to $40,000 if you're producing.
Well, yeah, in the first year especially. So, I mean, that's just kind of like an overall, like, is it worth that much money? So, if it's not worth that much money.
If you like them and you want to pay them $40,000, by all means.
The thing is, if you're going to be with a company, it should be because of, you didn't get into real estate to form a buddy group. You got into real estate, and I can guarantee everybody got into real estate because they wanted to make money on their terms. Yeah. And so, and then when you get in, you find out that a lot of brokerages don't really provide that the way that you expected. That those are all red flags. You don't actually have to go through that. And then you don't, at the same time, have to forego having the right brokerage that'll give you mindset training, confidence training, and also charging you less than the other ones. There are options out there.
Okay. So the second red flag would be your social hierarchy and your overall employee to employer structure.
Does the broker gossip to other agents about anyone else? Because guess what? If they are, and you hear it, they're definitely doing it about you.
Yep. Okay. So the third one is what?
All right. So the third one I would say is, and we've kind of touched on the broker, right? Specifically the broker of the office. But here is a huge pain point: the competing broker. Now, guys, for all you brokers out there that are listening and you run an office, Yes, I get it. You want to make money too. I understand. But
you get more agents and you teach them how to do their job so you can make more money. That's what you do.
Basically. So for all sorry if it bothers you, but it is the truth. For all of you new licensees, one of the things that you should ask, and one of the things I wish I would have known when I started in a particular brokerage was, is your broker a working broker?
And what does that mean?
Do they sell homes as well as run the office? So if they are a broker / owner, are they also selling homes? Now here's some of the reasons why that will be a problem for you as an agent. Let me give you one example. If they know, and as your broker, they kind of have an understanding of what you're looking to do, they kind of get to dive deep inside of your whole reason for being in real estate, right? You and all the other agents that are in the office. So if you have a competing broker, they kind of know what your niche is. They should even be helping you find your niche, right? They know where the areas that you're servicing. They know what Zillow lead generation you're going to buy into.
Yep.
They know a lot about you. They've helped you, if they're even awesome enough, create your business plan. How is it not a conflict of interest then if they are also selling homes right alongside with you? And I will tell you, there are a few agents that have even said this is an issue. And the broker has, yet again, office politics, confided in me and said, I don't know what the problem is and why they see an issue with me not even competing. I don't see why they see that's an issue that I just basically bought 100% impressions on Zillow in the same zip code that they're in.
So, hang on. So break down the Zillow impressions, break down how they're kind of taking leads from their agents.
Okay.
A little bit so they kind of
Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
Let's say, for instance, in Central Florida, you really want to service 32828. That's Waterford Lakes, for instance.
Okay. Good example.
Okay. And you've just told your broker, hey, I really need some help marketing to this area on Zillow. How do you think I can kind of optimize my Zillow profile? They'll give you some little tips and tricks and say, hey, this is what you can add to your profile. And you can say you work with first-time home buyers, et cetera, right? Well, they go in and they say, why do they want to work in 32828? Let's go see what's going on in 32828 right now. What's happening? What's trending in Waterford Lakes? So then they go in, they call their premier agent, and you got to figure too, they have a lot of money that's coming in from the brokerage.
They have typically more money than you.
Typically, they're going to have more money than you and more money to play with. So they go and call their premier agent sales guy, and they're like, hey, listen, how much would it cost to buy this out? Because they're starting to see that something's trending there for this particular season or what have you. And they're like, yeah, I want to go in there. Do you really think, again, as a working broker, they're going to not step on your toes and not do this and say, well, I'm definitely not going to market there? Of course not. It doesn't make sense for them to back off unless, again, like we said, they are not competing brokers. So your competing brokers have every right and every reason to go where the money is, just like you do.
So basically what you're saying is this. They're competing with you on some of the main platforms like a Zillow, where they're going in and they're buying out 100% of the impressions in a zip code you possibly want.
If they're smart, 100%. And most oftentimes the brokers are smart enough to know why.
And we've experienced this.
Yes.
So they have bought out 100% impressions, driving the price up and kind of ousting you from that zip code.
Right.
Without, in return, giving you leads.
And we saw that happen.
Yeah, and that is a huge problem because they are taking money from you. They're not teaching you how to get leads, close leads, and on top of that, they're driving the Zillow price up.
I wouldn't worry so much about driving the price up because here's why. Any agent can do that. Any agent can go in and drive the price up for you.
It shouldn't be your broker.
That's what I was about to say. But it shouldn't be your broker competing with you because although it's not a shortage mentality ever, there are so many real estate agents out there. Your broker does have an upper hand because they know more about you and your niche marketing strategy than anybody else.
Yeah, true.
So the fact that they know that stuff and then they can kind of use it to their benefit. I'm not saying all brokers are going to do this, but at the same time, to be honest with you, if I was a working broker, I wouldn't see any qualms about it, because it's like, guys, I got to do it too. But that's why I've made it a rule to not be a competing broker.
And if you're a working broker, then guess who's your competition? Your
agents.
So it doesn't make a lot of sense.
And then doubly, any broker that has their own team within their own brokerage.
Oh my God, that is a huge red flag.
Any partner that has a team within their own brokerage.
Yeah.
Just saying, guys.
Yeah. So they should be teaching you how to dominate and not them dominating.
Can you imagine if you were at, I don't want to give the best example. If you were at, let's say, I don't know, like, you're on Wall Street, and I can't even claim to know anything about stocks and bonds.
Not yet.
Not yet. But you're on Wall Street, and the guy who is supposed to be training you is also going after the same people that you are, and then kind of, it just seems like it shouldn't.
It's a huge conflict of interest because they're trying to get your listings and your leads. Yeah. Therefore, they will not teach you or train you like you need to be taught.
And they know more about you than any other broker or real estate agent out there, because they're the ones who are supposed to be there guiding
I would say out of these three, the competing broker is probably the biggest red flag so far.
The worst.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, guys. We're not talking about something that happens sometimes. This happens very often. Yeah. Very, very often.
Now, I will say this. The last red flag is... So we went over the closing process. How do you get paid?
Yeah.
If you don't get paid at the closing table, what does that say about your broker? We also went over the social hierarchy, the employee structure, how are they treating you, competing broker. We just went over. The last one is what a red flag is your commission split. It's a huge red flag.
Yeah, so we didn't talk about this in the beginning because it's kind of a given that the commission split, it shouldn't be crazy. But I don't think
it's a bad thing if the commission split is high, as long as the value is there.
Yeah. So, okay.
So what is your commission split? And if it is high, what value are they providing for you?
Right. Okay, so there are some companies that they are self-proclaimed they're not for new agents, right? They're like, well, basically we're here for people who have already been in the industry, and they offer like a very competitive commission split, for instance, because they expect that you know how to produce. That's just kind of how it is. That's fine. Everybody has their own different niche. So what drives me nuts, though, when I see this is that you have brokerages that are specifically for new agents, and they're taking such a huge portion of their commission off the bat, basically for... It's sometimes for training, but like the training isn't really the logistics, for instance.
Yeah, it's kind of all theory and not really concrete.
So a lot of things that you could learn just by watching, maybe not HGTV, but just knowing some agents or just some very, very basic things like this is what an open house is. You want to market. So they're just giving you information. They're like, that's all fine and well.
Information.
Yeah, but it's like, well, I know that I've heard of these things. I've been around enough to know it. I researched Zillow enough. I've bought a house before. I've sold a house before. But literally or logistically, how do you implement it? And that's where a lot of companies will fall short. Mm-hmm. Is they'll have this hefty commission. And again, the reason why they're kind of getting away with it is because
everyone does it.
Everyone does it.
Yeah. Well, the majority, not everyone, but a lot of companies. It's just kind of been the standard.
Yeah. And then on the other hand, you have, instead of just the brokerage charging you a crazy split, if you have teams within the brokerage, which is fine. I mean, it's really good to have, like, again, for somebody who really wants to shadow another person who just kind of wants leads put their way that they don't get to choose, which I strongly suggest you always choose the kind of leads that you have coming your way, and you should have the ability to do that. More on that later. But if you are with a real estate team, then they're more likely to charge you a heavier split, like a 60-40, 50-50 is quite standard. But if your brokerage is charging you something like that, that's kind of crazy if they're not giving you what you need. But if they are, the things they should be giving you is education, training, hands-on training.
Well, my thing is this. So if they're charging you 30%, right, they should be giving you a decent training. and they should be giving you decent leads because
Yeah.
they're taking a big chunk of your money. And if they're not giving you decent leads, and I mean Zillow leads
Yeah, I
by
was about
decent
to
leads,
say-
not just any crap lead that will take 2 years to close.
Yeah.
And you know, that's not a crap lead, but it's not really a helping you out now.
Well, you're talking about
a slow lead versus
nurturing leads versus on fire, ready to go people.
yeah.
Ready
So
to
we
start
call them
closing.
slow and fast.
Yeah. So that's the thing, you have to outweigh, well, what is it that they're offering? And if they're giving you a 70-30 split, but they're not really... guys, listen. I've heard many offices say, well, they provide my open house signs. They provide my for sale signs. Okay, that's great. Is it really worth your split, though? Come on, guys. Think about it.
Is it really worth the $100 to $200 versus in the long run paying them 20, 30, 40 grand in a year?
Yeah.
Not really worth it.
Let's say, for instance, you have a closing on a $300,000 home. Okay, so you are going to get about $9,000 for 3% commission. Let's say you have a 70-30 split. That means basically you're giving them $3,000 plus your transaction fee plus your monthly fee. And transaction fee can range anywhere between like $250 to $400, just depending on who you're with. And so you're giving them a lot monthly anyway, but then on the closing, you're giving them even more. And so you're just basically giving that $3,000 plus a transaction fee. Let's just say transaction fee is $300. So $3,300 for one closing. It hardly seems worth it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of money. So that $3,300 could and should be used to generate more business for you.
You could take $3,000 and put it into Zillow, and basically your ROI would just be nuts, as long as you know how to optimize your Zillow lead generation. That's something that we teach because, again, the money that you're saving with Follow Me Realty, for instance. So we charge, just depending on what plan you're going with, whether it's a monthly subscription and that's it, because we have a plan for that, and then we have the transaction fee, right? You're never giving a commission split, but you got to figure, if you're doing a 70-30 split with a company that's claiming to give you a lot of training, instead of paying that $3,000 to them, you could put easily like $1,000 per month into one zip code, 100% impressions, and you get to pick and choose whatever lead comes your way, and you can refer.
You would dominate and own that zip code. You'd be the...
Exactly. Yeah. And then you get to take whatever leads you don't want. You could say, and this is why you want to build your industry. This is why you want to build your referral network as well, is because you can pick and choose who you work with, and you don't have to just work with whoever you want to. You take whatever leads you don't like, and you're like, hey, listen, I've got just the person for you, and I've done this many times.
Yeah.
And then you get a commission split.
Yeah, we've had leads where it's like, well, and I think we've explained this in past podcasts.
Yeah.
But we've had leads where it's like, we don't really have the time, or it's
work
just,
with what you
or
need.
It's just not a fit. So you refer them out, and then, for 20, 30%, and then you get paid.
I mean, again, it's all about what's going to work best for your business. So one of the things we want to help new agents, developing agents, and licensees that have not yet signed with anyone. This goes across to anyone in the U.S. So not just Florida, not just Virginia. Just knowing, guys, when you sign up with somebody, here are the things that you want to ask them. And if you're already signed up and you're experiencing this, here are some red flags that you definitely need to fire your broker. And we're here to tell you they don't have to be the standard. The only reason and the only way it's going to change is if you start to stand up and say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to accept this. I don't accept the way that this is the way that it runs. And I actually can go with a brokerage that offers me better, because yes, we are out there.
Yeah. And we're not the only ones. There's other, but yeah, for sure.
For sure.
All right.
So that's
it. That's about it. So just to wrap up real quick, we have, what is the closing process like, and would you get paid at the closing table, and what does that look like for the first red flag?
The office politics for 2.
Second one would be office politics. The third one would be, and the biggest one in my opinion, is a competing broker. Why are they competing with you and not teaching you? The fourth one is your commission split. If it's high, I don't think that's a problem at all. But what value are they providing for you if it is high?
They better be giving you a shit ton of value to take 30%
Yeah.
or 20% or even
leads, top
15%. Yeah, right off the bat. So that's
all right,
it.
guys. Thank you.
Thank
Episode
you,
6.
guys.
We out.
Yeah, all right. See you soon.
Cause I've been here before.